Today I'm going to be sharing with you what I learned in filling out my first travel sketchbook so that you too can be fully prepared when you go out on your next traveling adventure. Urban sketching is such a great way to remember your travels, and I highly recommend it because it's so much more unique than a photo, and the effort of sketching the places that you have been to is so highly worthwhile just because you remember the place so much better. If you are interested in checking out the full sketchbook tour, it will be linked in the cards or in the description down below. Let's just get straight into what I learned. So the first thing that I would recommend is to write down your goals. I did this on a post-it note and I stuck it into kind of the first cover page of the sketchbook. You can make it into a spread or kind of do whatever you want with it, but essentially it's a way to remind you of why you are keeping this travel sketchbook. Just a brief reminder of what my goals were. They were to be present, document memories, enjoy the moment, and the first one was to get over my fear of painting in public. Actually, the main reason that I took this sketchbook is so that I could learn to get over my fear of painting in public, because I'd never done that before. I'm really used to sketching in public, but painting is something completely new to me, and I really feel like I did that with the sketchbook. I think trips are a really great way to have a kind of like a project almost, where you have one thing that you want to learn or one thing that you want to get out of the sketchbook, and just making sure that you do that in the time that you have is actually a really nice way to kind of level up in your art journey, but making sure that obviously you're not stressing yourself out, because that's kind of remissing the point of a holiday. The second tip that I have is practicing beforehand is super important. Whatever your goal is with your sketchbook, it's really important that you practice at home so that you feel comfortable when you're going out in public. So for example, before I went to Baku and I started painting, I actually subscribed to the Patreon of a very famous urban sketcher who I've been following for years actually. She's really great at watercolor. Her name is Alicia Aradia, and her tutorials really helped me actually. In particular with this painting, when I was painting at night, one of her tutorials really helped me to really capture that sense of the glowing building against the night sky. And so I would really recommend that you think about your goals beforehand, maybe think about artists who you really admire who actually execute those techniques really well, and see if they offer any classes. If not, you can also check out things like Skillshare or Creative Fabrica or even tutorials on YouTube just to see what you can do to practice beforehand. And when I say that you should practice at home, it doesn't necessarily mean inside the comfort of your own home. It could just mean you go outside as well in your locality and sketch and see what you can do, because you know, even just doing that step, I feel like going outside of your home but still within your locality is kind of like a good mid-ground step between, you know, home and going abroad and doing something, right? The third tip that I have is to break the ice with a pre-travel sketch. So what I did was I painted my suitcases before I left, and sometimes artists paint their art supplies in their sketchbook. Actually, there's a video of Teo Yiche, who I mentioned in a couple of previous videos, who did this, and that is kind of what inspired me to paint my suitcase. And I think this is just a really great way to break the ice with your sketchbook essentially, and get over the fear of the first page that we all generally tend to have when it comes to notebooks or sketchbooks. So like I said, you can paint your suitcase, you can paint what you're packing, you can paint your art supplies, maybe you can even paint, I don't know, the car that you're going to travel in or whatever it may be. Just something that kind of documents the pre-stage of your trip whilst also getting you kind of like a warm-up sketch. The fourth tip that I have is to embrace improvisation, and this is really something that you learn when you are sketching on location. For example, you never really know what 10 minutes can do until you actually are in that situation. I mean, more often than not when you're traveling, unless you're traveling of course with like urban sketchers or, you know, a group of artists, more often than not you're not going to have like an hour or 2 hours to spend in a location just sketching, right? Because you're traveling with family, you're traveling with friends, and so you're having to adapt to whatever they're doing, right? And more often than not what I found was that I had like 10 minutes or 20 minutes to sketch. It wasn't a long time, and so I really had to figure out ways to improvise and to paint things in a quick way or in an efficient manner. For example, when we were in the car, it was raining, and what I did was I started taking like raindrops off of the window and I started using that to paint with, which was a really interesting technique and something that I would probably use in the future. I mean, it's kind of a nice thing to have, to look back at that sketch and think, oh, I painted this with water that fell from the sky of Azerbaijan. I mean, it's kind of a weird thing, but it's also kind of interesting, you know what I mean? The good thing about urban sketching on location is that you learn to improvise, you learn to work within constraints, and that actually really does improve your creativity as well in the long run. The fifth tip that I have when you are sketching on location, when you're traveling, is to document the process, whether through photos or videos. I do think this is really important, not just for social media, but also for yourself and for the people around you who, may look at your sketchbook and think, oh, this is a really nice sketch. Where was it sketched? And you can show them the video, you can show them the photo so that they get some context. And it's just, honestly, I feel like people relate to it a lot more when they see the photo of the building that you sketched or the location that you sketched, as opposed to just a nice painting, right? Because only the people who have been to that location will see it and understand it. But if you want to share it with a wider audience, let's say when you come back home, you want to share it with your family, you can show them the photos, you can show them the videos, and it really does make people connect more to the sketch. And it helps them to also see the wider context of where you sketch this. Of course, as well, it's great for social media. I mean, I really wish I'd actually taken more videos of, me sketching, of the locations, because it really helps when it comes to reels, when it comes to shorts, and things like sharing on social media. The final tip that I have is that it is completely okay to finish your sketch at home. I don't think this is a cheating method. I think that the most important thing is to actually just finish the sketchbook and, not have like hanging pages. And this is what I really like about making my own sketchbook, is that I can control the number of pages so that I don't feel really overwhelmed, because normally the sketchbooks that you buy have a lot of pages that I feel would be too much for like a 1-week trip, right? So I think this is completely fine. In fact, I have released a video recently where I did like a long form video of me painting the rest of the paintings in the sketchbook. And I think this is kind of inevitable as well, because unless you're going for like a specific art trip, I really don't think that you are actually going to end up finishing the sketchbook. If you do, it's great, of course, but if you don't, it's also equally fine. And what I tended to do as well is that I take pictures and then I would paint them later on. And also circumstances may not be as favorable as you want. For example, I did not expect it to rain so much in Baku or in Azerbaijan in general, because I thought it's summer, it's sunny, and my cousin who I went to stay with was like, it's good weather, it's summer. But no, so you never know what the weather's going to be like and whether you're going to be able to sketch or not, so always be prepared. And I think the important thing that comes with finishing your sketchbook at home is that you should just try and finish it as soon as possible. So when I returned, I tried to finish that sketchbook within a week, because I knew that otherwise I was never going to end up finishing it, and it would be really sad if I just had this sketchbook that was never finished. So yeah, that is my last and final tip. And those are the points that I have for filling your travel sketchbook. If you have experience with filling travel sketchbooks, please let me know in the comments down below any tips that I may have missed. And if you are going to travel and fill a sketchbook, then please let me know where you're going. I would love to know. And if you are interested in seeing the previous videos in the series, then you can check out any video that I've linked here, and also subscribe right here. And with that, I will see you next week, maybe not, for another video. Bye!